Chipped ham and football. That's what Pittsburgh does. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Brian Batko here with you, one of our Steelers beat writers at the Post-Gazette, returning from a week of vacation. Happy to be back. Going to be joined today by Jenna Harner from WPXI, Channel 11, right here in Pittsburgh. My good friend to talk some Steelers with you on the show, as always, brought to you by Pella. No better place to get new windows and doors installed in your home than Pella, who can help you save on energy costs year-round. Schedule a free in-home consultation with your local Pella Windows and Doors to find the right product for your home and budget. Give them a call at 866-593-1560 to discuss your project further. That's 866-593-1560 to get started planning on your new windows and doors installation with Pella Windows and Doors of Pittsburgh. And yeah, we're going to go ahead and get into another, what I'm calling July draft. I mean, again, like I said a couple weeks ago when we had Donnie Football on from 93.7 The Fan, there's just not much happening right now in the NFL, let alone in the Steelers world. And it's a little bit of a gimmick, yeah, for content, but what are you going to do? We need to keep it as fun and entertaining as possible. I'm not going to lie. I could just speculate on the Steelers trading for a wide receiver again, but I'm getting a little sick of that. So what Jenna and I are going to do, we are going to draft our most anticipated games of the 2024 season for the Steelers. As far as what most anticipated means, we'll leave that up for interpretation between us two. So we'll both pick 5, and you can let us know if you agree or disagree. I think it's going to be a good time. And again, another way to just sort of pass the time. We're getting closer, folks. I promise. We're getting closer to real news, real developments, real football. Training camp begins next week. Report day next Wednesday. So we'll have some stuff on that soon enough. But in the meantime, we're just going to keep it flowing. Hope it's going to be a good show. We'll be right back here with Jenna Harner. And here's the wonderful Jenna Harner from WPXI here in Pittsburgh. Thanks so much for joining me today, Jenna. Fresh off your marriage and honeymoon to our mutual friend, Mike DeFabo, who also covers the Steelers. Well, he's your husband now, but also your friend, right? You should also be friends with your spouse, right?
That's true. Yeah. Husband, friend, checks a lot of boxes in that way.
Yes, he's my friend. Definitely not my husband, but
No.
yes, you. So yeah, I appreciate you easing back into to life in America by hopping on the show with me. You spent a couple weeks in Italy exploring, and I just got back from vacation too. So we're both kind of feeling out the waters again. Granted, you were in some of the most beautiful land known to man, eating delicious food at every meal, relaxing when you wanted to. My wife and I packed up our entire house, drove 8 hours with 2 little kids, and had them wake me up every morning between 5 and 7 a.m. and then showered sand off them every evening at the beach. But basically, we did the same thing. Vacation is vacation, right? Time off.
We love vacation. We love a nice little reset, nice relaxation. I mean, hey, beach with the kids, also a great time. That post-beach shower is real nice. So I get it. But it's been a whirlwind and then some, but it's nice to be back and getting ready to dive full speed ahead to training camp soon.
Yeah, and I feel like this is going to be a good way to kind of get back into a Steelers mindset. Sure, we're going to have training camp starting next week, and then we'll have preseason games. But what I want to do today is I want to have another July draft. Last time I did this was with our buddy Donnie Football from The Fan. We drafted potential breakout players for the Steelers a couple weeks ago. I want to do something a little more abstract with you, Jenna. Let's draft the biggest games on the Steelers 2024 schedule. And biggest, I will just sort of, it's just got to have a certain je ne sais quoi, right? You just know it when you see it. Is it anticipation? Is it what it's going to mean for the season? Is it just what you're personally most excited to see on this slate? I mean, it's just kind of up for interpretation. And, people can let us know if they agree, disagree, if we missed an obvious one, whatever they're thinking. So we'll each draft 5 games from the Steelers schedule. Do you want the first pick, or would you like the next 2? Because we'll do, one of us will get the first, then next 2, and then we'll just go back and forth.
All right. It's a tough question. I think I'm going to go first. I'm just going to come out of the gates.
Okay. All right. So you've got a clear number 1 pick on your mind here.
I do. I thought long and hard about this. This was a tough one because there are a lot of correct answers here, but I think this one sticks out as the most correct for the best, most exciting game on the schedule. And it's the home opener, week 3. So not only is there 2 weeks of anticipation of regular season games, you have all the lead up, of course, from training camp when things kick off. I think people right now are itching for football, so they're waiting for this day. But since I've been here, this will be my 5th year covering the Steelers. This is the most electric day on the North Shore. There's such a buzz in the air. The weather's usually amazing. We're still in that like late summer, hasn't gotten to fall quite yet. But if there is a little bit of crispness, if it's like an early chill, it feels really nice too. Everyone's down on the North Shore. There's a party happening. And not to mention, it'll be the first time people in Pittsburgh get to see this new revamped 2024 team and what they bring. I think Zeke wants to come say hello. We have a friend here.
Oh, nice. So we don't mind dogs on the show. Sometimes kids join me on the show. It happens.
Nice. We love dogs. So Zeke's, I'm petting him behind my back. You could hear there. So home opener week 3 is my number 1 game I'm going with here.
And against Jim Harbaugh's Chargers as well. So that'll be an interesting added wrinkle to it. I have a lot of the same philosophies on biggest, best game of the season as you do, Jenna. So I'm going to go with the season opener, week 1, as my first pick. Granted, it's not at Acrisure Stadium. I don't know how many Steelers fans will make the trip to Atlanta to see the Steelers play the Falcons, but there will be a ton already down there in the Georgia area. You've got the Arthur Smith revenge game scenario a little bit. And yeah, more than anything, I'm putting stock into what you brought up, that first chance to see Arthur Smith as the offensive coordinator. More important, first chance to see Russell Wilson as this team's starting quarterback, most likely, assuming nothing wild happens in camp in the preseason, be it injury or competition related with Justin Fields behind him. But yeah, I mean, it's just, there's going to be a lot of new. You add the rookies on top of that. Obviously, we'll see them to some extent in the preseason. But yeah, I mean, it's just always hope springs eternal with that first game. And I think in this year in particular, because of how grueling the stretch run is going to be, and I'm sure we'll draft some of those games at some point on the show, I think it's going to set the tone for a lot of this season. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they could drop a 20-14 game to the Falcons and still go on to have a lot of success, or maybe they can beat a rebuilding Atlanta team with Kirk Cousins at quarterback and still kind of have a mediocre season. But I think the season opener is right there at the top for me. And my second pick, before I ping it back to you, Christmas Day versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Us who work in the media and cover the team don't necessarily love the holiday scheduled games, but defending Super Bowl champs, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and of course, the big wild card, is Taylor Swift going to be in Pittsburgh on the North Shore? Like, it's just, some people are going to complain about me even mentioning her name, but we know how much attention she has brought to the NFL and the audience she's brought. When I was at the beach last week, we went to karaoke one night, and it's like family karaoke for a couple hours first. And I think every single family karaoke song was like a 10 to 12-year-old girl singing some different Taylor Swift tune. So it brings a certain amount of juice. I'm not going to be ashamed to say it. The Steelers Chiefs home Christmas Day game is going to be my number 2 pick.
I love that. And just to further your point onto how global and worldwide Taylor Swift is, we were on the beach in the Amalfi Coast sitting next to a family from Cape Town, South Africa. And they had a 13-year-old daughter, and we were kind of talking about what we do, Mike and I, and, we were talking about American football. And again, Cape Town, this young 13-year-old girl said, "Have you covered Travis Kelce? Have you met Travis Kelce?" And so it's global. So I like that pick a lot. I also have said from before the schedule was released, I said, don't be surprised if we see a Mount Washington proposal, Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift. So that's if you want to place your bets on that now, place your bets on that, because I think that's going to happen. Maybe we'll see.
All right. Yeah. I love where your head's at there, Jenna.
I'll go with my next pick here. This is probably an obvious one. I'm going week 11 against the Ravens, the first AFC North game of the season. Yes, we know it's coming super late. Obviously, I feel like Hard Knocks had a little bit to do with that. The schedule makers liked what they did in that latter half of the season here. And it's home. That's another big thing too. I just, you're kind of past the halfway point a little bit here. You're diving into that grueling latter half of the schedule. We're going to see, we'll know at least ideally who this Steelers team is. You hope at that point of the season. Granted, last year it took them a while to find an identity, if they found one at all. So I'm very excited to see what this Steelers team is going to look like at this point and kind of the crash course these two teams are going to be on. Is it going to be a neck and neck battle in the division? Are both teams going to have kind of the same amount of wins at that point? Are the Ravens going to have surprised a lot of people and maybe not played up to their potential and what they're expected to this year? Have the Steelers been surpassing expectations, or is it one of those games that the Steelers have lost a little bit coming into it and the Ravens are looking hot and they're looking to pull a massive upset? So I'm very excited for this latter half of the season. I know fans might not love the AFC North games back to back, but the storylines are going to be incredible. So week 11 against the Ravens, I'm really looking forward to that one. That's my second pick.
All right. Much like I did with the pair of openers, I'm going to ride your coattails again here, and I'm going to pick the first road divisional game in the AFC North. It's the very next week, week 12, quick turnaround to Thursday night football in Cleveland against the Browns. I don't know what it is about Steelers Browns playing on the banks of Lake Erie there, but seems like they've played a lot of night games there lately, even a lot of Thursday night games. Weird things have happened. Seems like the games always get chippy. The Myles, Garrett, Mason Rudolph altercation was a Thursday night game in Cleveland, my first season on the beat. So I've kind of got a soft spot. Again, logistically, don't necessarily love, the drive up and, then it's late after the game. Do we get a hotel? Do we drive back? Because it is only 2 hours, but it's 2 hours. But no one cares about what the reporters think and what we have to do to cover football for work. So I just think from a viewing standpoint, it's probably going to be a very meaningful game. And yeah, Thursday nighter, all eyes in the NFL are going to be on Steelers Browns. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if they're kind of in similar positions record wise in the division, fighting for that AFC North title, but also maybe fighting for a playoff spot at that point. So I'm going with that one as my third pick there behind the season opener and Steelers Chiefs on Christmas.
I like that. I'm going a little bit for my next pick here, a little backwards. I'm going week 5, Sunday Night Football at home against the Dallas Cowboys. I feel like haven't had a lot of Sunday night games at home lately as Steelers reporters. The Steelers themselves haven't had a lot of Sunday night games at home recently. I think it was 2 years ago, actually, when they played Seattle, or maybe that was the 2021 season. I'm trying to remember exactly, but feels like there have not been a lot of Sunday night football games at home at Acrisure Stadium. And week 5 against the Cowboys, I mean, those first couple early season games, people look at the schedule and on paper right now say, okay, a lot of these seem winnable, and it seems like kind of the Cowboys might be that first, quote unquote true test. Although again, Denver, LA, Indy, you never know what teams are going to look like at what points and how they're going to come out of the gates, how the Steelers themselves are going to come out of the gates. But I am very excited for this game, especially, again, there's just that primetime atmosphere. It's two of the most storied franchises in the league. There's just going to be so much talk about the defenses matched up against each other, the offenses, and some of the question marks that they have surrounding the team right now. So I'm really looking forward to that one. A little, biased also because it's on Channel 11 locally, so we get to do a lot of fun things leading into that game.
Little plug there for WPXI.
Just a little plug. Hey, in case you're wondering, the Thursday night game in Cleveland also Channel 11 game. So just letting everybody know now.
Yeah, and for the out of market folks, that's an Amazon one, I think. So
yeah. So in Pittsburgh, it'll be locally on WPXI, but I'm very, very excited for that Sunday night primetime atmosphere at home. Fans just get up for those games and then some, and it'll be fun to kind of see what these two teams look like at that point.
No doubt. And beyond your own professional interest in that, Jenna, I just feel, you're someone who didn't grow up in Pittsburgh. I did. I'm wondering if you're going to take your hometown, childhood team, the Giants, at some point in this exercise, even though I think it's a Monday night game. But I got to say, think the Giants are one of the more meh teams on the Steelers schedule, but we'll see if you go there. I was just going to say, though, as someone who did grow up here, people of a certain age, like I'm 32, probably everybody my age, older, maybe a little younger, Steelers Cowboys just has a certain intrigue to it. Like it's an old rivals die hard kind of thing. It's been a long time since those teams were vying for the Super Bowl every year in the late 70s. But I know the house that I grew up in and my grandparents, they hated the Cowboys probably more than anybody when I was a little kid, even though they were on opposite sides of the NFL. They weren't in the same conference, let alone the same division. But I still think there's something to people of a certain generation and maybe those they pass their Steelers fandom down to, that you just get a little excited for Pittsburgh versus Dallas, no matter where it is, no matter when it is in the season. And obviously they don't play each other very often either. So that'll be a fun Sunday night game for sure. That was high up on my list, but I'm going to go with another road game. So I've now got 3 road games here and only 1 home game. But week 2, Russell Wilson going back to Denver, Steelers Broncos. I think that's going to be interesting because of how badly things ended for him there. The Sean Payton divorce. I don't think the Broncos are going to be particularly good, but you got to think they're going to get up for that game. And I think it's their home opener. So there's going to be a lot of storylines that surround that one. And again, early in the season, setting the tone for the Steelers in 2024. A lot of people were hoping that might be the season opener for the Steelers. Obviously, it's week 2, but still going to be early on. And I'd be pretty shocked if Russ is not their starting quarterback at that point. And the lead up to that game and, yeah, just that subplot and what he has to say that week, what we hear coming out of the Mile High City, that's an interesting one to me.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And also too, just, the chatter that's going to be, like you were mentioning, just surrounding that week. There's going to be that anticipation. I think the media scrum in front of Russell Wilson's locker that week will be like 18 people deep.
They might have to put him like at Mount Washington for that and, and stage a real citywide presser for that one.
Yeah, that this isn't going to be just Steelers beat reporters. This is going to be citywide. Exactly. What are we on now? 4 or 5?
I think you're picking your 4th, right? Because you've got the home opener, you've got first AFC North game at home against the Ravens, and then you went Sunday night against the Cowboys, right?
That's right. Yep. I'm going with a road game. I think this might be one of my first road games we're going with. Week 6 in Las Vegas, because it's Las Vegas. Do I need to say more than that? I do. I think it was such a cool thing last year when we were out there, and like you mentioned, how many Steelers fans are going to show up in Atlanta. We know that Steelers fans travel so well, but that stadium felt like it was such a split. It was like a 50-50 split. That was a blast. It
was like a bowl game. It was like a college bowl game, the way you had the diehard Raider Nation people and the Steelers Nation people who kind of invaded.
That's exactly the vibe and environment that it was. And you just like walking around the strip that whole day. I think every third person was in a Steelers jersey, a Steelers hat. That's one of the road trips I think a lot of people have circled on the calendar. A lot of, moms and dads are like, all right, can we get away from the kids this week? Can we go for a long weekend out to Vegas, eat some great food, see a great game, maybe place a couple bets, if gamble responsibly, obviously. Sure. But there's just an environment, there's an atmosphere, and again, the storied kind of history between these two teams. Last year was the first time the Steelers were in Vegas. It just it brings that certain juice and get up to just week 6 game, 2 games away from the bye type thing. So I'm going that one, maybe a little selfishly too, because, we get to go to Vegas for it. But again, no one cares about us. So I hope a lot of fans are also going to this game.
Yes. And Jenna, unfortunately, you froze on the screen for a second there, but I completely agree with you that if I was picking best Steelers road trips, that would be right there at the top of my list. Robert Spillane facing the Steelers. I don't know that I have too much interest in the Raiders overall roster. I don't think they're going to be very good, but yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a fun environment for those who do make the trip. All right. So this is my final pick, I think, because I've got the Steelers season opener. I've got Russ at Denver. I've got Thursday night in Cleveland. I've got Christmas Day. All right. I'm going to close this out with, screw it. I'll take another road game. What do I care? Steelers at Eagles. in Philly on the off chance. Like, with your last round pick in any draft, you kind of throw a dart, a high upside potential. The odds of Kenny Pickett starting for the Eagles in that game, like, not great, but gosh, if that happens, like if Jalen Hurts, we don't wish injury or illness on anybody. If Jalen Hurts, like, maybe just tweaks an ankle like the week before, like maybe he stubs his toe, and the Eagles are what is this? So this is week 15. Yeah. So if the Eagles are like 12-1 at that point, and they're just rolling along, they're like, we can keep Jalen on ice for a week. Let's send Kenny out there against the team that drafted him, the city that loves him. I'll make that my dart throw to close it out. Plus, it's just Pittsburgh, Philly. That's always kind of fun. Even if Kenny Pickett's buried on the depth chart at that point and in street clothes or something, it's still going to be always big when Steelers Eagles meet up, and they need to redeem themselves from last time they went across the turnpike to the other side of the state and they just got curb stomped.
Yeah, that was a rough one. Also, this is like the prime game for a mayor's bet. So I think we're going to see like both mayors doing the classic, like, all right, we'll send you Permanis if you guys win, and you guys send us Philly pretzels or cheesesteaks.
Yeah. So there's always just built in, there's an inherent buzz when these two teams meet. So I'll close out with another road game, Steelers at Eagles. What's going to be your final pick here, Jenna? What are you going to bring the hammer down with?
I'm closing out with, and this is, again, probably an easy one, but week 18, the regular season finale at home against Cincinnati, because there's going to be implications there. And I feel like
there almost always are. Yeah.
How many seasons has it been where it's been like, all right, the Steelers have to win this game and this team has to lose to, like, I feel like every single year for at least the last 3 years, that's been the situation that, we've covered up to this point. So, there's going to be implications. There's also that I feel like we always tend to see that fighting spirit and just the impossible happen from the Steelers at the end of the season when, if they're depleted by injury or if any sort of circumstance, they've lost a couple games they should have won. These games, those last like 3 or 4 where everything's on the line, you have to win to get in the playoffs. I feel like we usually see them play their best football up to this point. And it's the Bengals. And is Joe Burrow going to be flying high and Cincinnati is going to be atop the division, or are the Steelers going to have to win to stay atop the division and win the crown? Like the storylines, I feel like I just keep saying storylines, but there are going to be so many. I'm so excited for all of them. But the fact that it's week 18 at home too, I feel like we haven't had those in a little bit. Haven't had that type of game. I feel like it's been on the road in Baltimore. So nice little change of pace, but I'm very, very excited for what that game will bring and all the meaning it will have behind it. And God knows it'll be one of those that comes down to the wire and they say, hey, we're putting this in prime time because this is going to be for the last wild card spot or the top of the division or all those things.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to say it's pretty much every season the Steelers' final game means something, even if they don't always get the help they need from the other teams. And in this case, yeah, I mean, it's at home. And, the other thing, like, it's kind of it works both ways. I mean, if it's not meaningful for the postseason, it could be one of those situations where there's going to be a lot of questions lingering. Like, what will the quarterback situation look like? If they're out of it, does Justin Fields start that game just to see what you have? If Cam Hayward doesn't get a contract extension, could that be his last game in a Steelers jersey? So, yeah, sort of either way you slice it, that game's going to mean something. It could be the last time you see this team for a while if they don't make the playoffs on the heels of that week. So, yeah, that one was on my radar, Jenna. Good pick. All right, so I'll just go ahead and before I get into our full teams, I'll say one that might have been snubbed a bit and I thought about taking was another Sunday nighter at home against the Jets. I just, you love Sunday night football. Aaron Rodgers, as long as he's healthy and in a coherent state, I guess, playing quarterback for an NFL team will probably be on the field that night. So that could be fun too. But otherwise, I think we pretty much hit on all the biggest, best, most anticipated games, and there are a lot of them in 2024. So you went with the home opener, week 3 against the Chargers. You went with week 5 Sunday night football against the Dallas Cowboys. You've got week 11 home against the Baltimore Ravens to kick off that murderer's row of games to end the season, and the first divisional game all the way on November 17th. And then you've got the season finale against the Bengals, and you've got I missed the lone road game, I think, on your draft team there at Las Vegas week 6 for your own selfish reasons, trying to go to Sin City and have a good time. But I can't blame you there. And as for me, I've got the first 2 games of the entire season, week 1 at Atlanta and week 2 Russ revenge game at Denver. Then I've got at the Browns week 12 Thursday night football, the mistake by the lake, week 15 in Philly. We all want to see Kenny Pickett versus the Steelers in week 17, Christmas Day, Wednesday afternoon football against the Kansas City Chiefs. We all hope T Swift is down Millville or something, slamming down some shooters before the game, but we'll see what happens there. All right. Well, thanks so much to Jenna Harner for joining us from WPXI, getting so close to some real football, but hope you enjoyed today's episode. Something a little different, another July draft to just to keep people's appetites in there a little bit for football. Jenna, appreciate you joining me.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here. This was fun. Let's do it again.
For sure. We'll have to do it again soon. Thanks as always for finding us here on the Chip Tam and Football Show. I'm Brian Batko from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Make sure you're keeping in tune with all of our stuff leading into training camp. And then obviously next week blows up with content. Going to be a whole lot of stuff happening. We will talk to you then. Have a great rest of the week, and we will talk to you soon.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.